of the City Council business meeting for June 11th, 2024. City Clerk Clark, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember O'Rear.
Here.
Councilmember Root.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Roche. Councilmember Pinkerton.
Here.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Here.
Mayor Shoemaker.
Here. Please rise as you are able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is presentations, and this evening we have a very special guest, and the introduction is going to be made by our Community Relations Specialist, Justin Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have the distinct honor of introducing a very impressive young person, a rising junior in high school who lives with her family in Five Forks. She is impressive because the crown that she has won means for her that she participates in her community. And she reached out a couple of months ago to me to come to City Hall and visit. The Mayor, Mr. Basley, and I had a wonderful conversation with her. She's very well spoken. She's definitely going to go places in her life. And so I would ask that you give your undivided attention to Miss Teen Simpsonville, Katelyn Moore.
Hello, good evening. I'm so happy to be here today in front of all of y'all. My name is Katelyn Moore, as Justin said, and I'm your Miss Teen Simpsonville for 2024. I was crowned earlier this year in March, and I think my reign will continue throughout this year and even into early spring of next year. A little bit about myself. I recently moved to not Spartanburg, but to the Simpsonville area. We live more in the Five Forks part of town in January. We moved here to be closer to family, and it's been probably the most wonderful decision we've made. They mean a lot to me. When I got to here in Simpsonville, I knew that I wanted to get, I wanted to get involved with the community because community means so much to me. I think of it as my own family, in fact. And when I heard about the Miss Simpsonville Teen Pageant, I thought of it as a way to serve my community and get involved. So when I won the title, I was excited to reach out with Justin. He's helped me get involved with multiple events and really jump headfirst into the pool of Simpsonville. And it's been an incredible experience. As Miss Simpsonville's teen, I support an organization called Wait Until 8. This is my platform, or CSI, which is on the paper that you have in front of you today. The whole point of having a community service initiative is to bring awareness to something that you think is important to your community. And for me, it's this organization. The whole point of it is to encourage and educate parents on the reasons why you might want to postpone giving your kid a smartphone until after 8th grade. We're seeing increased mental illnesses like loneliness, anxiety, depression, and especially body image issues in young girls when we give smartphones to our youth early in their life. So I think it's important that parents understand the risks that may come with giving kids smartphones early. And that's my goal by supporting these organizations to educate them. And not only that, but I get to bring our community and represent us as Simpsonville and Wait Until 8 to the state level as I go compete at Miss South Carolina's teen in just 10 short days. I'm truly so grateful for this opportunity. It's not only an organization that encourages me to get involved with my community, but also is a scholarship organization at which I have raised over $1,000 worth of money in scholarships. So to wrap this up, thank you again for having me. It's been an honor to tell you a little bit about myself and my goals I have as your Miss Teen Simpsonville. And if y'all have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Council? Councilmember O'Rear.
Where'd you go to high school?
I go to Juneteenth High School. I'm a rising junior.
Nice.
Anything else? Councilmember Root.
What made you come up with this organization, and how many people do you have? And perhaps our can't see Justin's face because of it, but maybe maybe something our youth council could even get behind. Could you elaborate a little bit more about your organization?
Yes, so the reason that I chose to support Wait Until 8th is because I value childhood. My childhood was taken from me. I did journey a 5-year health illness that ranged from first grade all the way to 5th grade. It was Lyme's disease and it was undiagnosed for 3 of those years. And that in turn, I look at it as it kind of took away my childhood. And when I look at the world we're in today, what I see taking away our youth childhood is smartphones, is disconnecting them from the world around them and not allowing them to live their childhood to its fullest. So I see it as an opportunity to help preserve their childhood while supporting this organization. One way that y'all can get behind it is possibly helping me even get into schools. I'm working on possibly talking to parents sometime next school year that is. And I'm already working with the founder of their organization. I had a video meeting with her today on different approaches I can take to this. But if y'all have any contacts that you would like to share with me, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, please email me. I could maybe try to help you get into Hillcrest Middle School.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you.
See if we can help you get in there.
Councilmember Hutchings.
What is the most fulfilling thing you experienced as representing the Simpsonville?
Well, when I got this role, I did not want to be an unfamiliar face. I wanted to be out in the community and have people be like, oh, I remember seeing her at the art festival, which is coming, or oh, I remember seeing her at just a lot of events around town. And I think the most gratifying moment I've had as Miss Teen Simpsonville is, I don't know where I was. We were just out shopping and we were talking about it, and someone asked what my extracurricular activities are, and I said, well, I'm Miss Teen Simpsonville. And someone turned around and said, I thought I recognized you. And I was like, really? And I was at the Simpsonville Fair, and they said, it meant so much to my daughter when you took a picture with her. And I think that's where my heart is in wanting to be Miss Simpsonville's team, is listening to our community and their stories and connecting with them on a personal level.
You're a beautiful young lady, and I know most of your family, so I know where all that came from.
They're great people.
You'd have to say that.
It comes from the heart, don't worry.
Council, anything else? Well, Ms. Moore would like to have a picture with council, so if we can come down in front of the dais, and I'll have you come, and Mr. Campbell take pictures.
Thank you.
See where the seal is?
Yes. Okay.
Bring this with us. Justin, I don't know if you can fit this in, Justin, but I think it needs to be in the picture.
Mayor could be on her left side.
Okay. You got both.
All right.
I'll remember that.
I'm gonna take the purple. Y'all can just tap. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna take some on my phone. By the way, Katelyn is episode 14 of the Simpsonville Simply Said podcast.
All right.
Probably one of my most fun podcast episodes.
Okay, where'd you come from?
The Charlotte area. Okay. It's called Fort Mill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all want to take any photos really quick?
I grabbed one.
Okay, great. Anything I take, I'll send to y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You need this back?
Yes, please.
Right, yeah.
Is this your job? Yes, it
And if y'all would like more information about Wait Until 8, I do have little cards on the back table if you like to listen to it.
Item 5 on the agenda is the Juneteenth Proclamation. Juneteenth, also known as Emancipation Day or Freedom Day, holds great historical and cultural significance as a commemoration of the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. On June 19, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger's arrival in Galveston, Texas marked a pivotal moment when the announcement of the end of slavery was made 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. The city of Simpsonville recognizes the profound importance of Juneteenth and its enduring legacy. It represents a symbol of liberation, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of equality, reflecting the indomitable spirit of African Americans throughout our nation's history. In tribute to the heritage, culture, and contributions of African Americans, the city of Simpsonville proudly declares that Juneteenth shall be observed as an official city holiday. This designation provides an invaluable opportunity for reflection, education, and celebration among our city employees and the community at large. To honor the significance of this day, all city offices will be closed, allowing employees and residents to fully engage in Juneteenth festivities, gatherings, educational programs, and cultural events. These activities promote understanding, unity, and progress as we continue our collective journey towards racial justice and equality. On this momentous occasion, we extend our gratitude to the organizers, community leaders, and individuals who tirelessly advocate for social justice, inclusivity, and a deeper understanding of our shared history. Together, we strive to build a city and a nation where every person is treated with dignity, equality, and respect. Now, therefore, I, Paul Shoemaker, Mayor of the City of Simpsonville, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth, a celebration of freedom in the City of Simpsonville. We encourage all residents to actively participate in activities that commemorate the emancipation of enslaved individuals, celebrate the achievements and contributions of African Americans, and foster a deeper understanding of our shared history. Thank you. Each member of council has received a copy of our minutes of the business meeting of May 14th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as written. Item 7 is citizen comments. We have one person who has signed up for comments. Mr. Baker, if you would come up to the podium. Let me explain just real quickly here. We do have a 3-minute limit on the length of your comments. The light here symbolizes how much time you have remaining. After you give your name and your address, the light will turn green when you start your comments. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the light will turn yellow. There will be a tone. And when your time is up, the light will turn red, and there will be another tone. That doesn't mean that we're going to jump over the dais and tackle you if you go a few sentences over. Just to, finish up your comments as quickly as you can. So you're up.
Okay, my name is Jim Baker, and I live at 48 Recess Way, Simpsonville. And my problem is, which I didn't notice, is somebody in the department decided to put no parking signs up that does not include parking for the residents and the visitors, for the fire lane. So my question to everybody is that whoever made the decision, why wasn't the decision related to the residents as soon as possible as you were going to make that decision? And where is our visitors going to park? Are they going to be able to park on the street, on Jonesville Road? When the council and people make decisions, I really believe that they do it for their best interest, not for the interest of the parties involved. And by not letting us know what's going on, we have no place for our families to park. And if the city is going to take over that road, which I can see they are, then they should be responsible to either widen the road, which when I first moved here, that is, I think the fire chief, I forget his name, Wesley Williams, and the developer, which was Jeff Randall, I heard that they decided to make the roadway smaller. By them making it smaller, that put pressure on big vehicles coming into the area. So anyhow, what I'm trying to say is that I believe that since the city created a fire lane, then the city should be able to widen that street and put additional parking, because we got a big center piece of land. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Administrator Gracely, can you look into this and share back with council and Mr. Baker what the circumstances were behind this decision?
Yes.
I forgot one thing. Since I moved in here October 2016, I met with Mayor Curtis, all the people in her office, even, I hate to say this, Eddie Chase, and now I met with you, Mayor, and the new city director, and it seems like when there's issues down that way, we're told, yes, it's nice to let us know, we look into it. And now I've been here almost 8 years, and it's nothing been done. And like I said, what brought it to the attention was put in the fire lane.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is where we begin with business. Item 8A, second reading of Z-2024-03 Proposed Rezoning of Property on West Georgia Road. Mr. Derby, would you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Council and Mayor. If you don't mind, switching back to PowerPoint. I'll try to go through this. 1214, 1212 West Georgia Road. This is a rezoning request. Current zoning is BG. They are looking to rezone this to ID for 5 acres for a proposed indoor and exterior traditional roll-up storage facility along with a commercial component. Nothing has changed since the May 14th business meeting, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Derby. The motion is in order. Councilmember Hutchins.
Mayor and council, make a motion to approve on second reading Z-2024-03 proposed rezoning of property on West Georgia.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hutchins with a second from Councilmember Roop. Discussion? Councilmember O'Reilly.
Just to reemphasize, this is a traffic neutral development, roughly, according to DOT. As it is. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
On the motion to approve on second reading of Z-2024-03 proposed rezoning of property on West Georgia Road, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries by a vote of 6-0. Item 8B, second reading of TX-2024-01 miscellaneous refinements to the zoning ordinance. Mr. Derby, would you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Section 735, 745, 755C in the Simpsonville zoning ordinance gives the ability for a council to return planning commission recommendation with a 5 vote. What this ordinance is looking to change that from a 5 vote to a simple majority. That is for comp plan text amendments to the zoning map update. So nothing has changed since the May 14th business meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Derby. Council, I move to approve on second reading of TX-2024-01 miscellaneous refinements to the zoning ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from the mayor with a second from Councilmember Hutchins. I'm going to start debate on this one. It's been an interesting process over the last few months to debate this policy change. It is a policy change that hasn't arisen out of a desire by the voters, by the people. This has been brought to council by a council member, which is fine. But I want to point out that the only public comments to council during council meetings have been opposed to this change. This ordinance that we're discussing changing has been in place for over 60 years. This change that is being proposed goes against the recommendation of staff. This change that's being proposed goes against the unanimous vote of the Planning Commission. The current wording in our ordinance is a concurring vote of at least 5 city council members shall be required to override a recommendation of the Planning Commission. And proposed wording is a concurring vote of a simple majority of city council members shall be required to override a recommendation of the planning commission. I believe that swings the pendulum too far to go to a simple majority. Under our rules of quorum, a vote to override could take place by less than a majority of council. It should be hard to override the planning commission. There are legal risks that come with overriding the planning commission when council chooses to take that action. A good compromise, what I believe would be the middle ground, would be wording that says a concurring vote of at least 4 city council members shall be required to override a recommendation of the planning commission. This would be middle ground. 4 is a majority of sitting council. I think one concern has been that making this change to the wording might cause this to go back to the planning commission. I don't believe that that is necessary. I don't believe that that will happen. So if this is a simple disagreement over policy, then we should consider doing something that is a compromise or a middle of the road thing that still would have a simple majority of seated council to override. Council, I move to amend the wording in the proposed ordinance by striking the words, quote, a simple majority of city council members, unquote, and replacing them with the words, quote, at least 4 city council members, unquote.
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Root. So the mayor has made a motion to amend with a second from Councilmember Root. I've made my points. Any other discussion from council? Councilmember Root.
Absolutely. This is my motion. This is my ordinance. This is something I feel strongly about, or I wouldn't have done it. I don't waste my time on fool's errands. And we've already had 2 votes on this. Neither time have we mentioned a compromise until now. But I'm going to go down a couple of thoughts. And Mayor, I like you and everything. We disagree on this one wholeheartedly. Addressing the fact that only people that have ever spoken in council meetings about this were against. Let the record show that that person was actually a former member of the Planning Commission. Also, the staff has never made a recommendation on this, have we, Mr. Derby?
No, sir.
So the staff's never recommended against this. Absolutely not. If we're going to sit up here and debate something, we got to be factual about these things. The quorum rule, like I explained to a planning commissioner who decided to address me last week at the planning commission meeting, the way it reads now, quorum's 4, also 4 on the planning commission. So if the planning commission seats 4 people and one of them has to recuse themselves, so quorum is not broken. So you have 3 people voting. 2 people from the planning commission, literally right now, could send us a recommendation with 2 votes. 2. So as it sits right now, we have to have 5 votes. That's 2.5 times the amount of votes that an unelected body has to send to us. If we even make this compromise, we have to have double the votes to override. So the quorum rule is absolutely in the favor of the planning commission. They are an unelected body. We are an elected body. 4 votes still makes no sense. You don't put a hard number on this. 4 votes means 4 votes. That means if we meet a quorum, just a quorum up here, which I hope we never do, just meet a quorum of 4. If we meet just a quorum of 4, we have to have 100% of the votes, when they could literally send it to us with about 28% of their votes. So you tell me where that makes sense. There is no need to compromise on this. This is done by the city of Greenville. This is done by the city of Greer. This is done by the city of Malden. All of these people have this rule in place. And like the city attorney said last time, they have not imploded yet. I am not asking for anything that is out of the ordinary. I'm asking for what is ordinary, which is the power into the hands of the people that got actually elected to this. And I'm going to tell you right now, this whole process has been extremely personal. It was personal to me when the planning committee, by name, called me out more than once, told me I was misinformed, told me they were offended by my...
Councilmember over here.
Excuse me.
I'm going to rule that your comments are irrelevant to
No,
the
not
motion.
irrelevant. They made this what it is today. I asked for something that has been in place in the 3 cities that are larger than us in Greenville County. And there is nothing out of the ordinary for what I'm wanting to do. I was accused last Tuesday night in these chambers of potential corruption on my part if this were to pass. I was told I was an intimidating person by sitting in here listening to planning commission meetings because by law I can. This has become very personal. I don't know why. This is a very simple legal request. Like I sent you an email, Mr. Derby, about when does the city make recommendations. They don't all the time, as far as I know. The only recommendation I knew that was coming was going to be against me. So why did the city not recommend anything here? To stay out of the fray? I don't know. We've had opinions from other people that are very knowledgeable about the problems you have with what we have in place. What we have in place, when you have a rule like supermajority or 5 votes, those are usually almost 100% of the time reserved to maintain status quo. The problem is, in our situation, our relationship with the Planning Commission, it does not maintain status quo. What happens in that case is the Planning Commission is passing the ordinances and the rules here, not the commission anymore. I mean, not the council anymore. That's not how this is even supposed to work. We are a unicorn in this state. This is not out of the ordinary. This is not a big ask. This has become extremely personal for some reason. You don't come up here and say, the city recommended this when it never happened. You don't do that. That's false information. You don't say that the only people that ever voted or came and spoke to you, give us the whole story, that the dude was a former planning commissioner. Whose bidding do you think he's doing? But don't come up to me after a meeting and accuse me of trying to intimidate and to be possibly corrupt if this were to pass. That's personal. I want what's best for the city of Simpsonville. I grew up here. This is where every formative thing that ever happened to me happened. I care about this city. The one big, massive issue in any election cycle in Simpsonville, on top of stormwater, is development. We have a planning council, a planning commission that can sit back knowing they need 5 votes from us to override them and do anything they want. They even made the point themselves. They can count on one hand how many times they've been overturned. Well, it's kind of hard when you have to have 5 votes. So I don't understand why this had to get personal. I have a good idea why. But this is not a big ask. Even Steve Pelliser from the Appalachian Council of Governments thinks what we have in place is very unusual, to say the least. Not trying to put words in the man's mouth. Even our own city attorney, and I'm going to address that too because I can. The committee of the whole meeting, there was information known. There was known information about how this vote had to take place. I was advised on, I think it was March 6th, from a memo from our city attorney who said 3 different times in there, twice, you need 5 votes to overturn the 5-vote rule. March 6th, the committee of the whole was end of April, so roughly 6 weeks later. So in a 6-week span, certain things that we suspected were not correct turned out to be that way. They tried to dissuade me in there by going, Mr. O'Rear needs to gauge the rest of the council to see if he has the support for 5 votes. We were told until literally the last second. That information was held. And he goes, oh, and by the way, my memo, it wasn't correct. You only need 4 votes. I have been obstructed on this ordinance from step 1. And that was the last bit of obstruction. By withholding that information, at bare minimum, he knew walking in this building that night that memo was fake news. And he chose to hold that information back for me and the rest of council until the very last second. That would have changed a very large amount of contentious debate. No one has yet to explain to me why that happened and at what point our city attorney knew that what he put in writing to advise you in the city was wrong. It was to try to keep me from being successful in getting this passed, trying to get me to quit. You want to ask my wife and daughter in the back room if I quit? You will find out that I do not. So now if the vote goes my way tonight, I would be very happy. It has so far. But I think this procedure, this process toward me, and the very first thing I've ever tried to accomplish in this city got very personal very fast. But I will defend myself, and that's what I'm doing right now. This makes nothing but sense to put the final decision-making authority into the people that went through an election cycle, had to ask the people, can you please vote for me because I want to represent you? They don't even know who's on the planning commission. We need to be the final arbiter, and it's too hard for us to be the final arbiter when you have to have not a supermajority, 5 votes. We even went over the quorum rules about that. So we get to a quorum of 4 people. We can't, as an elected council, we can't even move on the planning commission's recommendation. That's insane. There should be nothing that we do outside of procedural things up here that requires more than a simple majority of votes. Thank you.
Councilmember Friedman.
Yeah, just for clarification, Mayor, you noted that we didn't have any, or there was nobody speaking for this during the meetings here, but at the Planning Commission meeting when this was brought up, there were members, City of Simpsonville citizens that did speak out for this amendment change.
Councilmember Root.
Here's kind of where I am on it a little bit. I do feel that somehow this has gotten personal between Councilmember Rear and maybe the Planning Commission. For me, and I can speak that for 2 years prior to the new council, I had to like this, but I knew I wasn't going to have support to put it on the agenda where now I am. I've always been in favor. I'm not changing my vote tonight to change this. I do like the 4. I have liked 4 all along. I think it's vague. I think when we're dealing with future legal issues, future lawsuits, councils even further from us that will be serving on this, if we're going to change this to make sure the wording is right and not vague. So I haven't liked the 5 vote rule. I've always been in favor of the 4. I do see that the mayor has tried to come in the middle, and I agree with him that this needs to be 4 and not just to a simple majority. I think we set ourselves up for a potential problem, definitely a future problem. I would hope if the council showed up with a quorum of 4 that they would have enough ethics to table the discussion and the vote to when there was a full council. We would hope that that would be in the future, but I don't know future councils. I don't know how they'll vote. And with the vague rule, you could potentially not get your way or get your way by making a 4-4 vote would be very difficult. So I think the whole idea of changing it is to get it right. I am of the opinion that we face the voters, we campaign on things, and we make promises, and when things are passed, we're held accountable for those. It's always seemed kind of crazy to me to have a commission who I'm glad we have a commission. They do a lot of our work for us, and I appreciate the time that they put into it, because Lord knows we take a lot of our time. Some of us are working 2 jobs doing this job. So we take their recommendations, but they don't face voters. Most of the citizens don't know who on the planning commissions. Even if there is a planning commission, I bet you a lot of people don't know. They just see something gets voted, something gets put in, council gets the blame whether we voted for it or not. So I think that it should be 4. I think 4 is a good number. I think if you show up with 4, you got an important vote that day, you table it and you come back the next time. But I haven't been comfortable. I was willing to pass it as is, as a simple majority, but I haven't been able to get past it. If this does not go back to the Planning Commission, I would be for it. I think prolonging this vote, going back to the Planning Commission would prolong this another month. I think we've discussed it in detail. I think we kind of know where we sit. I'm for changing it, whether it's a simple majority. I would like the verbiage of 4, but I would still pass it as a simple majority rather than keeping it the way it is now. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Councilmember Hutchings.
This is an issue I've wrestled with for quite a while now, back and forth, and to me, this is not personal. It's a matter of what is the right way to do things and what is not. The fact that this has been in place for 50 years is, and I consider myself conservative, and conservatives, I think, by definition, try to hold on to conservative values over time. If it's worked for us for 50 years, then I'm not sure that we, need to upset that. I have, however, seen the advantages of looking at change, and I even did an AI inquiry to find out what a greater mind than ours could tell us, and I got some good points on that, and it leaned in the direction of changing it. I had not considered the compromise, the 4-vote compromise. I like that idea. I actually like that as a way to consider moving this in a different direction, but not completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I am leaning toward the compromise, amended compromise vote at this point.
Councilmember O'Rourke.
I want clarification. If this were to get amended, will it go back in front of the Planning Commission again?
No, our belief is that it is a Planning Commission would offer a recommendation.
Well, that's what I mean. Will it be another public hearing on this? Because I've been told it will be, and I'm not willing to take the abuse again in public. I'm gonna guarantee you that.
No, the
I'm
mayor
not gonna listen
mentioned.
to them again.
The mayor mentioned his proposed amendment to me earlier, and John and I talked about it, and we believe that it does not need to go back to the Planning Commission.
I do not agree with this in the least. This does nothing but trim one number. I don't like the compromise. I don't like being treated like I was treated by this commission. I don't like, where was I in this? It was my ordinance. Why did y'all not speak to me and say, here's what we're thinking?
Well, Mr. Derby, you have to understand, this is not a staff decision at this point. This is a council policy change. And honestly, I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but I have to say it's wrong to address Mr. Derby with your concerns when it's a policy change made by the mayor and seconded by a member of council. At this point, it has nothing to do with staff. Your comment should be directed to the mayor unless it's a question.
I was told that the staff recommended against this. So I was addressing Mr. Derby because I'd never heard of that before. So obviously that was not correct. So, and Mr. Derby, nothing personal. He's in my line of sight right here.
Okay.
So,
I just want to clarify that because he has a very difficult job to do too.
John's good to talk to me a lot,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that because I learn a lot from him. That's
Good.
why I go ask questions. But I do not agree with this compromise. The only thing we're doing at this point is trimming a number. It's still a number. It's still, if they get a quorum and recuse themselves, one recusal, they could send a recommendation to us with 2 votes, and we got to have 4, and that's 4 solid votes. That's 4 of whoever shows up here. So if the percentages go up, the less people show up. I do not think that burden should be on the elected people. So the comments I hear, they're going to pass it, and I don't agree with it. I wholeheartedly don't agree with it.
Councilmember Pinkerton.
Yeah, for the record, I'm not for the four, I'm for the simple majority. But no, but I would like some clarification. And the question's been asked, but we made an amendment, and we're sure that it doesn't have to go back to the planning commission for review. Is this something that needs to be reviewed by council? I'm just unaware of how that works, so I'd like some clarification on that. how that
So during our discussion, Mr. Derby and I talked about the fact that what would come back to council would be a recommendation from the planning commission. So because this is second reading, there needs to be a final vote on this tonight. You either reject the amendment, you reject the ordinance, or you pass the ordinance. And so anything that would then go back to the planning commission with that language change would come back again as a recommendation, so it wouldn't alter the vote of council.
So the first vote that will be is the amendment, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
As
That's the
procedural.
subsidiary motion that is under consideration is the motion to amend the wording of the
And
ordinance.
if that passes by a simple majority, and this, when that goes back to the planning commission for recommendation?
No.
No. If the amended motion passes, then the original motion as amended would be voted on by this body tonight, and it would be hopefully the end of the policy change. It would either end up being for concurrent or simple majority, depending on how the amended motion is voted on.
And we're missing a member of council. Can I table it to another time?
You can make that motion.
I make the motion that we table this till we have full council.
Second.
A motion from Councilmember Pinkerton with a second from Councilmember O'Rear to postpone to when we have the full representation of council. Discussion? Actually, hold on just one moment. Let me just refer to the rules here.
Cheat sheet.
Can we postpone and have it set for the committee of the whole meeting? Can we vote? on this?
No, we
Because
don't
didn't
conduct
have this
business
meeting.
at committee
Okay.
of the whole. That's our
I
opportunity.
didn't think so. I just
to
wanted to
discuss.
ask.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, this is debatable, so Councilmember Hutchins?
If we postpone, we have language now on the ordinance that we're voting on. If we postpone, will we have the amended language available to us?
If the amendment were to pass, if the amendment doesn't pass tonight, then the original ordinance would stand until the matter is taken back up by council at a future meeting.
I'm just going to interrupt here for a moment. I'm the parliamentarian when our attorney is not present. It would come back to us at this point in the discussion. So we would come back to be considering the original motion and the subsidiary motion to amend. Councilmember Hutchins.
So really the only change would be that we would have an opportunity for the other council member to participate in that vote.
Yes. Any further discussion on the amendment, on the motion to postpone? On the motion to postpone until we have full representation, well, I'm gonna stop here for just a moment. We can't do it the way you made the motion, because we cannot put something under consideration. I mean, I guess we can put it on the agenda, and if we don't have a full council, then we would just pass over that and postpone to the next meeting.
Postpone to the July 9th business meeting. That's the actual date of the business meeting.
Yeah, but if we postpone date certain to July 9th, and we again have a situation where we don't have full council here, then we wouldn't be meeting the intent of the motion. So I think what we will have to do is keep putting it on the agenda until we have full attendance by council if the motion to postpone passes. Does that make sense to you, Administrator Gracely? But
Yes.
Is that okay to do on the agenda?
Yes.
And we can just
We could
continue?
just put it on for July 9th, and if there's not a full council, we could postpone again until the August business meeting.
So, let me restate. On the motion to postpone until we have full representation of council, we have a business meeting with full representation of council. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
So
Can we do a roll call, because I'm not sure how that.
the staff member has called for a roll call vote. Clerk Clark, please.
Councilmember Rear,
Yes.
Councilmember Root,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
No.
Councilmember Pinkerton,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchins,
No.
Mayor Shoemaker.
No, the motion fails. So the current motion that is under discussion is the motion to amend the wording. Is there any further discussion from council? Councilmember Williams.
I think that the four concurrent vote middle ground is a good meeting point for both. I don't see the reason to change the 5 votes at the moment because it's been working for so many years. But if it were changed, then having the 4 and making sure everybody was on council to make a decision that's obviously got to be something pretty important to, override the recommendation of the planning commission. So I think that the 4 vote is a good middle ground.
Any further discussion? On the motion to amend the wording in the proposed ordinance by striking the words, quote, "a simple majority of city council members," unquote, and replacing them with the words, quote, "at least 4 city council members," unquote. I'm going to call for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rear,
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. On the motion to amend the wording in the proposed ordinance by striking the words, quote, "a simple majority of city council members," unquote, and replacing them with the words, quote, "at least 4 city council members," unquote, is the motion.
Councilmember Rear,
Yes.
Councilmember Root,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Pinkerton,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchins,
Yes.
Mayor Shoemaker.
Yes. Motion carries by a vote of 6-0. So the amended wording is now, for the main motion, is on the motion, the motion is now the second reading, the motion to approve the second reading of TX-2024-01 miscellaneous refinements to the zoning ordinance as amended. Discussion? Hearing none? Oh, I'm sorry.
You said
No, it doesn't need a second. So, is there any discussion? I'll call for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rear,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Root,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Pinkerton,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchins,
Yes.
Mayor Shoemaker.
Yes. Motion carries by a vote of 6-0. Item 8C, SP-2024-06, Fairview Road Storage ID Major Change. Mr. Derby, would you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is the 662 Ferry Road. 662 Ferry Road. This is an ID development. They have previously been approved to have outdoor storage for boats and RVs. What they're looking to do is a major change to the current plan, the concept plan statement of intent that allows the outdoor RV storage, to replace that area with what you see in pink, which are traditional roll-up storage units. There's already roll-up storage units on the perimeter. This is just adding to it. This is going in existing developed areas, so no loss to the ID development on this. This does not require reading, just under approval. I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Derby. Motion is in order. Councilmember Root.
Mayor and Council, I move we pass SP-2024-06 Fairview Road Storage ID Major Change.
I have a motion from Councilmember Root with a second from Councilmember Hutchins. Discussion? Councilmember Root.
Has anything changed from the last meeting? everything is, nothing is changed.
Can you pull the picture back up so quick? I don't think I have anything, but that's all we can do. Now we get, thanks.
No discussion from council? On the motion to approve SP-2024-06 Fairview Road Storage ID major change, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries 6-0. Item 8B, second reading of fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. Administrator Gracely, will you summarize, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Council, if you recall, during the first reading of the budget ordinance, there was a motion made to amend the budget to remove funding for Zen City, which is a communications platform that we've been using for a couple of years, and to replace that item with a redesign of our city website. That motion passed, and so that is the only thing that we've changed since first reading of the ordinance. That those two changes were made to remove Zen City and then include funding for the website redesign. I wanted to put the highlights up here so you all could be reminded exactly what's different in this year's budget versus last. That's not right. That's last year's. You may have pulled up the wrong PowerPoint.
Slide.
If you'll just take that slide away, I can just talk, I can speak to it.
Okay.
This budget includes a 4% cost of living increase for every full-time employee of the city effective July 1. It also includes a $1,000 bonus for each employee. There is a 10% increase from the previous year in the health insurance renewal. Proactive MD, which is our medical access to a primary care physician provided through the city, is still included. It does include the normal $250,000 from the Public Works Enterprise Fund, but also an additional $250,000 from the general fund for a total of $500,000 for resurfacing. It includes $250,000 to start a stormwater capital fund. It includes $250,000 as we've done in the previous budget year to pay for the heavy rescue truck when it's anticipated to be delivered in late 25 or early 26. It also includes a $1,000 discretionary fund per council member to spend on a public purpose of your choosing. It includes the Green Link contribution of $47,000. And I would like to report to you all that we've gotten information back from Green Link staff since first reading of the budget, and the intergovernmental agreement does include a board seat for Simpsonville. Salary adjustments for public safety for police and fire to get them current with other municipalities in the area. Cleaning service for the art center and the new complex once we're occupying those buildings. I'd like to point out no borrowing from fund balance in the general fund. It's a balanced general fund budget. It does include a surplus in the Public Works Enterprise Fund budget, a surplus in Hospitality and Accommodations Fund budget, and a surplus in the Sewer Fund budget. And I also showed you, and we have a pretty full chambers tonight, so I would like to reiterate, when we did Committee of the Whole and we did first reading of the budget, you were given a spreadsheet that showed you comparable millage rates to other neighboring cities in Greenville County. We are currently the second lowest millage rate in the county by a considerable amount in most cases. And I know that Malden has proposed a tax increase in their budget. I'm not sure when that's finalized, but it's possible we could then be the lowest millage rate in the county, and I think that's an admirable place to be, and I just wanted to point that out. That concludes my presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Administrator Gracely. A motion is in order. Councilmember Hutchins.
Mayor, Council, I'll make a motion to approve on second reading fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
A motion from Councilmember Hutchins with a second from Councilmember Pinkerton. Discussion? Councilmember Pinkerton. Councilmember Hutchins.
I just want to say again how impressed I am with your work on the budget and the increases we've had in the employee pay and bonuses and all those things. Everything we've done, all this, and so far, no property tax increases. As long as I've been on council, we haven't had one. So that's amazing. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, and I would like to point out, this is not just me, this is a staff effort to put the budget together. Finance Director Christine Farino does a considerable amount of work, as do the department heads, for us to be able to present a budget to you. So I'd like to give recognition to those staff members as well.
Councilmember Pinkerton.
Councilman stole a little bit of my thunder. Actually, I was going to say the same thing, and I appreciate the effort you put in towards working with me to understand the budget. My first time reading into it. I will say, though, the one thing that's a little bit concerning to me, I would vote to pass this budget. I noticed today that we started paving last year's and the years before's paving allotment. Ran into it, actually. But it's a very, 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 very small, minute part of all the city roads, and they're a mess. I'd like to see us in the future somehow gather up the money to put in a more aggressive paving program. Now, I'm not for raising taxes, but I am in the thoughts that we probably need to establish some sort of fee-based system for new development to help pay for these sort of things, paving and stormwater. We can't afford to go any further in the city without addressing our infrastructure. Paving of roads is big. So I just wanted to point that out, that although I'll be glad to pass this budget, but in the years to come, we really need to come to a meeting of the minds of how we're going to address this, whether it be, again, with fees or grants, but our infrastructure is really going downhill.
Councilmember Rick.
I echo, I appreciate everyone's work on the budget. I said last time it was good. It's always good to not raise taxes, be fiscally conservative with our spending. I think we checked all those boxes. However, having said all of that, I feel like I'm in a pickle because I led the charge to take monies out of this current budget to help pay for the city transit. I spoke to several constituents on an idea that I had, taking the Zen City money and helping pay for the bus, and I feel obligated to that promise. It's a shame because I like the budget, and I also agree with council decision at the last meeting to put some of that money into the website. So where I agree with everything, and I think it looks good, I feel obligated that I have no choice but to stick to my word. So I will not be able to approve this budget as is based on a previous promise to constituents, and the fact that I led the charge, I feel a little hypocritical putting that money back in, even though I feel silly saying it's a small amount of money. But it does not go to the fact that I do not like the budget. I wanted to be on record by saying that. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Meara.
Yeah, Director Farino, I appreciate all the effort you put in. Thanks for everything you did to explain to me, get me the itemized thing. Diane, thanks for your whole staff for everything. It's exhaustive, and I'm not an accountant, but I do like to learn, and like Mr. Derby's learned, I ask a lot of questions, and everyone's been very patient about that. I appreciate it. And listening to Councilmember Roop, I absolutely understand what he's talking about. Hypocrisy is nothing I would ever want to attach to my name either. I think, and I know Justin, Mr. Campbell would love to have, $25,000 toward a website, shifting that money over. But I get what Councilmember Roop saying. When we shift money, we actually agreed to spend extra money. And I'm like anybody else with a household. If my insurance bill goes up, unless my employer gives me a raise, I've got to shift money. And when you cut something, doesn't necessarily mean you shift it somewhere else. So, you know, I'm pretty sure the thing's gonna pass, but I might have to side with Mr. Rupel on this one just because, you know, we do need to be conscious of when we add expense to the taxpayer, to try to save them somewhere else. Because like all of us up here, we wouldn't be up here if we weren't taxpayers in the city of Simpsonville. But that's not taking anything away from anybody and all the work they did on this, because I know everyone's very appreciative of everything. So maybe something to think about if it does pass, and if Mr. Campbell would put the effort into it. I know we're the form of government we are. The mayor does have a little blurb, a little page. I would love, and I can't speak for the rest of council, but I would love to have a Ward 1 page that I could contribute information to for the constituents myself if this does in fact get passed and that money is moved to the website. So if Mr. Campbell could do that, or have the company we hire to do that, I would love to have a voice also. And I can't speak for them, but I would assume they probably wouldn't mind that themselves. So thank you, but thanks for all the work. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Council? I'm typically opposed to us repeating ourselves, but I did write down one note, and so along the lines of thunder. Thunder sometimes rolls and rolls, so I have one note: no tax increase.
Absolutely.
So, with that, are there any other comments from council? On the motion to approve on second reading of fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. All opposed signify by saying no. So
4-2.
it is a 4-2 vote. The motion carries. Next item, 8E, first reading of AXZ-2024-02 Proposed annexation of property located at 211 Cherokee Drive. Mr. Derby, would you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. This is on the west side. The yellow is West Georgia Road, blue is Neely Ferry, the green location is in a donut hole, Greenville County. Current zoning is R12. The applicant tonight is Mr. Griffin Amick. He's looking to have this rezoned into the city as RE for the purpose of building his first house there on that lot. He wants to tie into the city sewer and like to have the services that also the city provides regarding trash and police protection. This did go to June 4th Planning Commission, was recommended 7-0. The applicant has requested if we could expedite this and go past the committee of the whole like we do in November, December, go straight to a business meeting. So this did not come to a committee of the whole meeting, but it's coming before you for the first reading tonight. So I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilmember Root.
Mayor and Council, I move that first reading approve AXZ-2024-02 proposed annexation of property located at 211 Cherokee Drive.
The motion from Councilmember Root with a second from Councilmember Williams. Discussion? Councilmember Root.
Can you explain the proposal that you're proposing? I don't know if I have seen this quite yet in 2 years that it kind of expedited the process. Can you explain how that is? I'm not against it. I'm for accepting donut holes. Like that's a big problem that we talk about as councils. Anytime we get a chance to do this, we want to do it. I want to understand what we're actually doing and how we're violating certain meetings and processes.
Correct. This would take 3 months of meetings, and
Okay.
he's reducing it down to 2. He's in the process of actually doing these crawl space foundation. And he's at that point now that he needs to start designing the plumbing connections.
Okay.
You can't do either one of those, so now the property is stalled basically. So the shorter we can make this for him would be better. Just like in November, December, we don't go to committee of the whole, we go straight from planning commission to business. So.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't know if it's been brought up. I just wanted that explained for the record. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Rear.
No, I was gonna let Councilmember Pinkerton go. He got his hand up over there.
Councilmember Pinkerton.
Thank you. So you answered one of my questions about the sewer, because in investigating this, I usually try to do, I went out to the property and there's a house that's about 99% built on the property now, so I'm assuming he needs sewer connection ASAP. And it is the city sewer that runs both ways on Cherokee Drive, right? So the other two houses that are adjacent are not in the city either. One assumes that they are also connected to the city sewer.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, where else would their sewer be?
Septic.
Okay, that's a possibility. I also went by there, and both of those houses, 213 and 209, both have City of Simpsonville trash cans in their yard. So we're picking up their trash, I guess. I'm not pointing a finger at you. I'm just saying, my concern is that you've got 3, if not 4 properties here that have been here and zoned in the county that are most likely tapped into the City of Simpsonville sewer, have already got Simpsonville City sanitation going on, and certainly in the fire service area, and no doubt if they called 911, the police department would probably show up. I doubt it'd be the sheriff. I don't know how that works, but it seems unreasonable. So my concern is if these other folks are getting services already without paying taxes into the city, how does that work? I mean, I get now, because he wants sewer connection, we have to, as a city, say, well, you're not in the city, I can't grant it. It's not gonna happen, right? But these other 2, maybe 3 already have it, and they're not paying taxes. Of course, they can't vote, and that would be the other opportunity for this guy to vote in the city. But I'm just having concern that we're allowing these other properties tapping into the city's services without paying taxes.
That's a great question. I can look into that. I'm not aware of them being tapped into the sewer. If they are, that is an issue. Trash receptacles, I don't know if that's put there. Just kind of sometimes mailboxes are all one side kind of situation. I can talk to Mr. West to make sure that is not the case with the other 2 properties.
Well, I look into these things, so the trash cans are there. They're not out in the street waiting to be picked up. They're in the yard. And I didn't really look into 511, but this property, it's probably been in the city for a long, long time. Now, why these 3 properties, 4 properties are not in the city? But at some point, all that sewer was in there, and I just don't think they have enough property for septic, frankly. But I think that's something worth looking into. Before I would vote yes for this, let's figure out what we're doing, what's going on with these other properties.
Councilmember O'Rear.
Okay. Weird clarification. Green line looks like it's going into the other house. Is that just because of the line's fat? Property line?
A little bit of that, and these are a aerial photograph. Every year those kind of shift a little bit, so they're not 100% accurate. I find one that's, you'll have these lines, these parcel lines from Greenville County.
I didn't really think it was going through someone else's house. It just looked like it, and that could cause trouble for sure. I had that happen when I was a kid over in Poinsettia. Someone actually had their driveway on someone else's property and an entire fence on someone else's property. And I think we've talked about this, the city being proactive about annexation. And I know this doesn't have any bearing to this specific, but when you have the other 3 properties, are we anywhere in any discussions with any of these folks to jump into the city also, since everything seems to be there, the infrastructure, the sewer, the trash folks are showing up? I mean,
it's never really been the city's, I guess, drive to go out to kind of recruit people to annex into the city. The times we want to loop people in is try to avoid more meetings, or to prevent what's called spot zoning. Say if all 3 of these were already RE, and this gentleman wanted to go R low, we would want all of them to be R low, so they're all the same. So that'd be something we want as a group thing. In this situation, we can ask them, try to get them all inside so there's no more donut holes, but that's not been the city's goal to kind of go out there and kind of recruit for that, but it would be nice.
yeah, I wouldn't. But also, I did attend the planning commission meeting, and I heard the gentleman speak, and I appreciate the fact that he wants to be part of us. To be honest with you, so I appreciate it.
Councilman Hutchings.
If Councilmember Pickerton is correct, and these other properties are on our sewer system right now, what's the remedy for that?
I can address that. I suspect what may have happened here is that the sewer line was extended after those houses were built, and I don't know, but we will check and see about the sewer. They pay a higher rate if they're outside the city limits for their sewer user fee. I am disturbed about the sanitation though, and we will take care of that, because they should not have city sanitation services. Now, the fire service area, they're paying those taxes to be in the fire service area, so the fire department would cover them, but I will speak with Mr. West about whether or not, so that when you all are ready to do second reading, you'll have some clarification. But in the meantime, we'll go remove those receptacles, because if they're not in the city limits, they should definitely not be receiving sanitation service.
I'm a little bit concerned on voting yes on this right now myself, because we're not really closing a donut hole if those other properties aren't in the city. I'd like to see, if they are currently receiving city services, they might consider moving into the city.
Councilman Rick.
Would we, I'm not sure, I understand the questions we're asking, but I don't think this voting on this particular property has any bearing, a yes or no for me if the other two get it or not. I think it's almost to come in the city and build a house and pay city taxes and be part of the city, that we should look at this maybe individually, let the city go back and look at the other homes, but not, I think we're chasing a rabbit, trying to say, well, I'm going to hold my vote on this one if these two aren't. I think we're kind of getting ahead of the, putting the, what's the expression? Putting the cart before the horse. Thank you. My wife laughs at me because I get them all messed up. So I'm for it, but I would like at the next meeting some type of clarification whether they are sued. Let me back up and ask you a question. It is, I don't want to say use the word common. There is a way for you not to be in the city, but still tie into city sewage, but pay a kind of a tax,
Yes.
higher tax on that.
Yes, in fact, Kemet is not in the city, and we've been their sewer collection system for decades. So it happens a lot that we do have sewer service extended to areas that are not in the city limits. Like I said, the biggest red flag for me is the sanitation, which we can take care of immediately.
Okay. So we will have that information next meeting, whether
Yes.
they are tied in the city, they're paying a surplus tax on that, if they were getting trash services, and if they're not. This could mean that maybe they do want to come into the city now, but regardless, I think we ought to look at this, help this gentleman out so he can further his construction. We're not holding him up for the very purposes that Director Derby suggested earlier, so that's all.
Councilman Romer.
By law, do we have to supply sewer to people outside the city? Do we have to extend it to them? Or
Well, we don't ever pay to extend the sewer.
Okay.
Developers pay for that with new subdivisions, for instance.
Okay.
I don't know of any circumstances where the city would extend the sewer. It's not a common practice anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe years ago it was, but usually that's not the case. The property owner would have to pay. But if there's sewer service available, then DHEC requires, if they're within 300 feet of public sewer, that they have to be on public sewer and not have a septic tank.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman. Okay, just a couple of quick comments here. I don't believe that discussion of the status of other properties is germane as part of approving this annexation request. I think it's important, and I would appreciate you following up on it, but I think you can provide that feedback to council outside of the council meeting. Likewise, it is also unfair to this property owner to try and hold him accountable for the status of property that does not belong to him, or trying to get him to get these people to annex into the city. Annexation is a for us to pursue annexation is an extremely difficult process. And it typically does not happen. Cities don't typically pursue annexation in the state of South Carolina because it is so difficult. There have been proposals in the General Assembly to make it where we can close these donut holes. They have not passed. It's not important on the General Assembly's agenda. So I would really love to see these donut holes closed. It causes problems. It's my understanding from our Sergeant at Arms this evening that the police department cannot respond to this, or should not respond to this property and make an arrest on that property because it's not inside our jurisdiction. And so that would be a problem. If we're providing trash service for these folks, they're not paying taxes for it. So again, if you can follow up on those items, but I think for this specific agenda item, we're talking about one property owner and what he is proposing to do. So, Councilmember Pinkerton.
Yeah, just clarification, and I agree with what you're saying, but is not the owner of this property the owner of address 209? Because it says the applicant mailing address is 209 Cherokee Drive.
I believe that's his father.
So he might have that, might be using that address because he doesn't have it currently, but
911 won't give you an address until
he doesn't have an address at 211 yet. So. But maybe that, again, outside this meeting, it's not germane. He could maybe talk his father into annexing into the city too. I
I
don't
don't
know.
really understand that. I guess my point is that you were making a motion not to waylay this guy's opportunity to be in the city, but it seems to me for the application, he lives next door in 209. So that's my point.
Further discussion? Okay, on the motion to approve first reading of AXZ-2024-02 Proposed Annexation of Property Located at 211 Cherokee Drive, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. All opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries 6-0. That concludes all the items that are on our agenda this evening. If there are no objections, we will stand adjourned.